love's fading light. I watch the sun fall out of sight. And with my heart undone, came tears I cried with all my might. I sit and watch the sky. Every star seems so high. Then I wonder why someday we all must say goodbye. How many times have you let yourself feel the fire? Standing so close to the heat of love's desire. When it ends alone, you seek to find your peaceful path. God is creator of love and light. Its wisdom speaks to me. Let go of the past, be in the here and now. You can walk alone and walk a peaceful path. How many times do you let yourself get inspired? How many times do you follow your heart's desire? When you walk this road, you know you've walked a peaceful path. You can walk alone and walk a peaceful path. Out on my own tonight. This time it feels so right. Love's fading light, so bright it fills the sky. And with this love inside, I'm gonna walk a peaceful path. How many times do you let yourself get inspired? How many times do you follow your heart's desire? When you walk this road, you know you've walked a peaceful path. Yes, you can walk alone and walk a peaceful path. Peaceful path. Peaceful path. Peaceful path.
Good morning to all of you. I'm so glad you showed up on this beautiful morning. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Abigail, and I have a little story for you about a lobster and the great creator. Long ago, when the world was very new, there was a certain lobster who was determined that the creator had made a mistake. So, as any lobster would normally do, he made an appointment to see the creator. With all due respect, said the lobster, I wish to complain about the way you designed my shell. You see, just as I got used to my outer casting, then I had to shed it for another. That was very inconvenient and a waste of time. To which the creator replied, I see, but do you realize that giving up of one shell allows you to grow into another? But I like myself just the way I am, said the lobster. Your mind is made up then. Indeed, said the lobster. Very well, smiled the Creator. From now on, your shell will not change, and you may go about your business just as you do right now. That is very kind of you, said the lobster, and he left. At first, the lobster was very content with the same old shell, but as time passed, he found that his once slight and comfortable shell became heavy and uncomfortable and tight. After a while, in fact, that the shell became so cumbersome that the lobster couldn't feel anything at all outside of himself. As a result, he was bumping into others, he was awkward, he just couldn't move very well at all. And then it got to the point where he could hardly even breathe. So, with great effort, he made an appointment for the Creator again. With all due respect, the lobster sighed, contrary to what you promised, my shell has not remained the same. As a matter of fact, it is shrinking. Not at all, smiled the Creator. Your shell may have gotten a little thicker with age, but it has remained the same size. You see, what has happened, my dear lobster, is that you have changed from the inside within your own shell. You see, everything changes continuously. Nothing remains the same. That's the way I made things. When you can let go of your old shell and you can embrace something new and choose to grow into that newness, you build new strength within yourself. And in the strength, you find new capacity to love yourself, to love others, and to even love and embrace life itself in a new way. This is my plan for every one of you. And the lobster decided he would go for the new shell. He let go of the old, and he took on the new, and it was comfortable and good. And this story is from Jean Pellegrino. And the reason why I told that story is because I feel like we're in the midst of a great transformation that's happening right now. My talk title is Falling Forward, and this month has been about bright beginnings. And I'm going to talk about beginnings, but first, I need to talk a little bit about endings. And it's really important to get that there is struggle going on right now. And there's a lot going on our planet. There's a lot going on in our community. There's a lot going on probably with you right now. And it's really important to surrender instead of resisting what's happening. And I was reading the book of the month, the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo, and he had a story that I thought was very appropriate, and I'm sure he didn't write it recently. He talked about a time when he had a rib removed. So he said, "A most profound and helpful learning came to me when struggling with having a rib removed. For weeks, I felt a corset of pain girding every single breath. But watching the winter water and a stream that began to flow and thaw and freeze over and over again, I finally saw that to make it through the pain, I had to be more like water and less like ice." You see, what he would see is he would sit there by the river, and there would be the river frozen over, and a tree branch would fall off the tree, and it would hit the ice, and the river would shatter. But when a large limb fell into the place where the water was flowing, the river embraced the weight and flowed around it. The trees and the winter water were there, he says, teaching me that the pain was more pointed and hurtful when I was tense and solid as ice. Then each breath was shattering. But when I could see the fear and I could release my tenseness, The pain was more absorbed, and I could, like the thawing stream, move on, not necessarily pain-free, but no longer shattered. So I'm wondering in this time of transition, are you embracing it like the ice, or are you surrendering into it and allowing it to flow? It's a really important time, I feel, because I feel like there's a great initiation going on our planet right now. There's something that is sacred that's happening. And I really wanted to find something great. I was praying for something that I could talk to you about today that would be very insightful and moving. And so what I did is what I often do is I pray to God to guide me to the right and perfect book. And so I was looking on my bookshelf and I found, I was guided to this book. It's called Managing Transitions, Making the Most of Change by Dr. William Bridges and Susan Bridges. And this is really a book about organizational change, but it really got to me about how pertinent it is about what's going on right now in our world. They talk about endings, the neutral zone, and beginnings. And like I said, I'm going to talk about beginnings, but I have to talk about endings first in order to talk about beginnings. And in the book, they talk about how transition starts with an ending. Think of it. Every transition is an ending. You're getting promoted. You got laid off. Maybe you're moving into your first house, or you just had a baby. You are getting married and combining households, or you're getting divorced and separating households. Maybe you have a death of a family member or a beloved pet. Every single one of these is an ending. Each one of these things start with letting go, with surrendering something in order to make space for the new to come in. So for like a new baby, for instance, you might have to let go of regular sleep or let go of extra money that you used to have when you didn't have a baby, or you might have to let go of your alone time with your spouse. Or let's say you just moved and you're in a new community, a new city, and you have to let go of your former relationships in the form that they were. You got to open to a new way of being, new patterns and new formations on how to get to know people and what is the culture of this community. It's all new. But it started with an ending. And people judge endings as bad, but they're not bad or good, they just are. And so what's going on this planet with the pandemic, it's not bad or good, it just is. It's an ending. There's a lot of endings going on right now. There's 22 million people in the United States who are without work. And I'm pretty sure a lot of them had jobs prior to this pandemic. I know that, Stephan and I were talking before this service about how musicians, very few musicians have opportunities like we have here today to be able to sing on a stage, 6 feet apart from each other and more. And so there's so many musicians out there without work who are looking for what can I do? What's this about? So many of my friends have lost their jobs and they don't know how they're going to pay rent, or they weren't able to pay rent. And so those are all endings. And it's happening at a massive scale. It's not just happening in this country, it's happening all over the planet. So there's a collective grief that's happening. And I want to invite you to be gentle with yourself right now, because this is grief that you're going through, but it's also an ending that is leading to a beginning. And that's the most important thing to take into consideration, that this is leading to a beginning. And you need to let go in order to welcome the new. And the let go is a surrendering, is an awakening to that idea that something new is happening, but you got to let go. So are you holding on tightly? Are you being like the ice, or are you being like the water and the river, allowing this new reality? So whenever we're talking here about endings, there's a point after the ending, and then there's a beginning, and then there's the in-between part. And the in-between part is what I was really interested in reading this book. They call it the neutral zone. And collectively, as a society, that's the place before the beginnings. And I believe we're in this no man's land, the land between the old reality and the new reality, the limbo place where there's like an old sense of identity and there's a new sense of identity coming, but we're right in between. It's the place where things are falling apart as they're falling together. It's messy. It's a place of often uncertainty, and it's really important to understand that this is what we are collectively going through as the neutral zone. It might be something like, oh God, I want to rush through this, or you might be thinking, I want to try and escape. I want it to be different. I want to go back the way we were, and I want to stop this from happening, and we can't. We can't stop it from happening. There's a pandemic going on, and it's happening, and it's real. And yes, 22 million people are without jobs right now. And yes, there are people who are sick, and yes, there are people who are trying to figure out what to do right now. But this is also a sacred and holy time. And this is what I really want to get, that I want to invite you not to try and rush through this. I want to invite you to step into this as a holy experience. You see, this pandemic has created so many endings, and just because there's a pandemic doesn't mean that other endings aren't happening. Like there's still cancer going on. People are still losing their pets. There's the endings that would have been happening, divorces, are still going on, and then we're compounding that with the pandemic and all the additional endings. And so it's kind of a group of endings that's happening. But if you really look at it, nothing ever has happened like this before. Yes, there have been pandemics, but in this lifetime, in your lifetime, nothing has ever happened like this before. That's why they keep using the word unprecedented. And I think what is so important to get is that this is a sacred initiation. This is a sacred time in history, and I don't want you to pass this time up by wishing it were this or wishing it were that. I want to invite you into surrendering into this place that we call the neutral zone. Because in the book, what I really love is that they say, painful as though it is, the neutral zone is the individual's best chance to be creative, to develop into what they need to become, and to renew themselves. This is the time when innovation is most possible, at this very time. Can you imagine that this entire planet collectively is in the space where innovation is most possible, where new ideas and new beginnings are being birthed if we only surrender and allow ourselves to be available to them? It's like the time when you're flying on a trapeze, because everybody flies on trapezes, but if you're flying on a trapeze and you let go and you're in the place in between where you want to catch the other one, but you're not there yet. Like it's possible. There's the other trapeze, but you're in the air right now. And that's exactly what's going on, and it's scary, and it's frightening, but it's also exhilarating and inspiring. And so what are you choosing to be in this? You see, this is the time where we can facilitate the transition of the as-is into the to-be. This is where we get to step into who do we want to be. This is the place where all the old paradigms are destroyed and the new paradigms can be written, because we're right in that in-between zone. I love being a part of Center for Spiritual Living Seattle because our vision is about being a force for good in the world. Now, if you are here and you're watching this, I'm going to guess that you're completely aligned with that vision, that you are also a force for good in the world. But whenever you think about that, what does that look like? What does that express like? Like, how can I be a force for good in the world when I am physically distant from everyone? How can I be a force for good in the world? And this is where you get to start dreaming and creating and imagining and being a part of, like, I just joined this Facebook group. It's called The Kindness Pandemic. So you can be a part of the kindness pandemic that is happening, and it is spreading like wildfire. It is going crazy mad all over the world, and you can be a part of it. And it doesn't mean you have to do anything big. I went on a walk the other day, and in the window there was words that said, "Sending love to all." Huge window, that's what it said. And then I'm walking down another street, and there on somebody else's house is the little cutouts that you use in like elementary school, the letters, and they were pasted on the wall of their house outside, and it said, "We want to thank all of the healthcare workers on the front line. Thank you for all you do in your service to us." And it was so heartwarming that I sent a note out to other people. I said, "What kindnesses have you experienced recently?" And my Facebook page blew up. Like, it was crazy. Are you willing to be a part of this kindness pandemic that's happening? Something new is being birthed here, something new and sacred. You see, there's a story about these 3 frogs on a log. And one of them made the decision to jump in. So, question of the day, how many frogs are on the log now? Well, there's still 3 frogs, because even though the one that made the decision to jump in, he didn't actually jump in, so he's still on the log. So that's the deal. Are you still sitting there waiting for something to happen? I want to invite you to jump in. I want to invite you to participate in this kindness pandemic that is spreading around the world and being a force for good in the world, because every little action you can take can make a difference in somebody's life. I read this article about, it was called, "What if the virus is the medicine?" And it was posted on heartwordsanctuary.org. I'm not going to go through the whole article, but it captivated me because of this part. And I really found some resonance in this. It said, "We are entering the chrysalis. There's no instruction manual for what happens next. But we can learn some things from observing nature. For one thing, the chrysalis stage is preceded by a feeding frenzy in which the caterpillar massively overconsumes before going into the chrysalis." Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like when I go to the grocery store, there's some massive consuming going on. And I don't know about toilet paper and caterpillars, but there's definitely a lot that's going on here within our society, within our world. There's a lot of overconsuming going on. But that's the interesting part, is it's like the caterpillar knows something is coming, some transformation is coming. It's like there was this thing that happened and we knew something was coming. And so we overconsumed. But then when the caterpillar is in the chrysalis, it becomes undifferentiated goo. Undifferentiated goo. And what remains separate are these cells that are called imaginal cells. And the imaginal cells, they link up together and they form the template of what the butterfly is to become. You see, we have a time right now when we're in the chrysalis and we're in the imaginary goo to imagine what we would love the other side to be like. This is our place where we get to imagine a world that works for everyone. This is our time where we get to be in that place where we get to reorganize into what we'd love to experience. So the question is, does the caterpillar overconsume strategically, or is it blind instinct? This is what they asked in this article. Does it know what's coming, and does it trust the process, or does it feel like it's dying? We don't know. We do know that it's natural to resist radical, painful change. And we can practice welcoming the circumstances that force us away from our dysfunctional old patterns, or we can practice being in the space of dreaming the next thing. And this is the perfect time. This is the time again when I feel like we're being, as a collective, initiated. I had to think, part of Centers for Spiritual Living vision is a world that works for everyone. And I don't know about you, but I have not seen a world that works for everyone yet. And what's even more interesting is, to me, I'm noticing how this pandemic is bringing up those disparities where the world is not working for everyone. And I'm noticing a collective grief and upset about the fact that there's inequities that are so apparent that the pandemic is bringing up. And what's beautiful is that when we can see what's not working, we can create what is working. We can be a part of dreaming up what that idea of possibility can be. And I've never experienced any other time in my life whenever so many people have collectively been involved in wanting to participate in the collective change for our planet, for our world, for our society. And I haven't seen ever in my life people be so kind and so loving and so inspired about being generous to each other as such a time as this. You see, I feel like we were born for this. We came into this life sphere so we could be the superheroes on the planet as a collective society of superheroes. This is the place where we have the opportunity where we can see little things here and there and jump in and support each other. This is our initiation. And in that article from Heartward Sanctuary, they talk about the word initiation. They said, on an individual level, initiations are processes or rituals which one reaches a new state of being. For instance, a girl into a woman, or a clergy or a layperson into a clergy person. And there's initiations that are deliberate, and then there's initiations that are spontaneous. And I feel like this is a global initiation that's spontaneous, that's happening here collectively together. In an archetypal shamanic initiation, there is a healing crisis that happens. And many of you may be going through that right now. Michael Meade said, initiations are events that pull us deeper into life, deeper than we would already otherwise go. They vary widely from culture to culture, but there's two characteristics that they share that's similar, no matter where you're at. One, intensity. Two, transformation. I'm kind of thinking that's what's going on right now. It's a pretty intense time, and there's a lot of transformation going on. And these are times where we get to be face to face with life and death, where we get to see what is dying in our society, what no longer serves us, what do we need to shed and let go of, and what can we step into? So what if we honor this time as sacred? What if we take the time to listen to the boundaries and limits of our Earth Mother? What if we evaluate this time to think about what is truly important and what are we dreaming of? What do we wish we could see, and what can we be to participate in that coming forth? How deep can we receive this bitter medicine? And are we willing to allow it to open us up to our latent possibility that's available within? How can we be the midwives of what is coming through? Since there is so much endings going on, there must be a beginning. How can we midwife this beginning? I was thinking about, when I was writing this talk, about a baby. And a baby, whenever the baby is ready to walk, right? The baby's standing up. And what it does, in order to walk, it actually has to fall, right? It falls, and then it catches itself. And usually the first several times, the baby doesn't actually catch itself, and it falls, and then it gets right back up, and then it falls, and then it gets right back up. And And here we are every single day. We're always falling, right? Every day is a day of falling forward. But we're so trained in being supported, right? We're so trained in knowing that all is well, that we keep walking forward. And so every step, we're falling forward into the newness. We're falling forward into the newness. And the beauty of it is that we are fully supported by this infinite God source that knows only good. And every step, we're being fully supported in this new transition. But we have to be willing to let go and to surrender and to be available for those imaginal cells to be downloaded, right? To open us up to the new possibility of what's happening while we're in this neutral zone. And so I want you to ask your question, what is mine to do? What is mine to make a difference in the world around me? How can I be a local superhero? And some people, the local superheroes are just by staying at home and not going out. But even if you're staying at home, there's things you can do. And I'm going to read you a couple of things that people wrote to me on my Facebook page when I asked the question, what kindnesses have you seen? Camille wrote, people are offering to sew face masks for strangers and ship them for free. Friends have sent money to help feed kids and pay rent. A neighbor from next door is bringing a working vacuum because mine broke down. A close friend whose family has been ravaged by cancer and they had to shut down their small business had a GoFundMe created, and within a week they raised $30,000. I've witnessed so much kindness recently. And then Jessie said that her roommate isn't working right now, so she's been assisting the elderly in the neighborhood with tasks. She said, we howl at the moon at 8 p.m. in our neighborhood to honor all the healthcare workers. She said, my sister and I have done pay-it-forward trains, which resulted in $2,000 to going to a nurse who had no time to cook meals because she was so busy. And she was eating top ramen every night. She said, my grandma has been knitting cute masks and sending them to friends and family. We've been connecting on Zoom as a family as far as Italy. So much good has been happening, and it's all around us. And so I wonder, are you willing to step in to this new way of being? Are you willing to surrender to what is going on right now and to knowing that there's truly a newness that is birthing itself through us individually and collectively? Are you willing to step into being a local superhero? Are you willing to go with this idea that, yes, a pandemic is happening, and maybe something magnificent is being birthed in it. And maybe this ending is leading to a new beginning. Are you willing to dream up what that new beginning could look like? Are you willing to spend time in prayer and meditation? Are you willing to connect with each other? Because I know that as I step into this, I am so compelled to reach out to others in a way I never have before. I wave at everybody. Everybody I'm driving by in the street, I'm waving to them. It's like a small town feel, except we're in Seattle. And it's beautiful. And so I want you to be a part of this kindness pandemic. I want to invite you to participate in this wildfire of kindness that is happening around the globe. And I want you to post it and talk about it and look for it and see it and notice it and advertise it, because what we put our attention on grows, and this thing is not going anywhere. This kindness pandemic is here, and it's changing all of us inside and outside. And I'm so grateful to know that we're going to be here and we're part of the transformation that's happening. And it's big, and it's beautiful, and it's sacred, and it's holy. So don't miss this time. Let's pray. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to know that there is an infinite source that I call God. And God is in the midst of all of this. God didn't go away. God is here, present, in and through each and every one of us. There is something that's linking our hearts and our souls and our bodies and our spirits, that we are collectively moving into a new birth for this planet. that we are collectively moving into this idea of a world that works for everyone. That there is something in the imaginal goo that's happening within each and every one of us that is alighting us with a new idea of possibility. I'm so grateful to know that I am part of this kindness pandemic that is blazingly all around the planet. And I'm so inspired and moved to participate and co-create and allow it to grow in and through me to something new. I'm so grateful for the endings of who I used to be, and I'm so grateful for the emerging of what I seek to be right here and right now. And as I claim this truth, I know that it's happening to each and every person who's listening to these words. Each and every person is captivated and motivated and inspired by this God essence, by this creative force, by this creative genius that is birthing through all of us right here and now. I'm so grateful to know that this is so apparent and visible to all of us that we cannot help but spread the good word. I'm so grateful to participate and co-create. I'm so grateful to be a part of this sacred transition, this initiation. I welcome the new. I'm grateful for the bright beginnings. I'm grateful for the flowers and the trees and the plants that remind me that this is not the end. This is only the beginning of something beautiful and holy and sacred. And so as I honor that truth within me, I honor that truth within all of us, knowing that only good can come of this. And even though I may feel the sadness and the loss, which is part of my human grief, I acknowledge that. I bless it. I hold myself holy and sacred like a little baby, because I know that Spirit is holding all of us like the cherished, beloved, sacred, and holy beings that we are being guided and lifted and drawn through this time like no other. And so I just surrender into that Spirit, knowing I am held, and that something different, something new is gathering me and opening me to this holy experience that I call life. And I'm grateful, and so it is.